Raindrops on roses and whiskers on kittens, bright copper kettles and warm woolen mittens, brown paper packages tied up with strings. These are a few of my favorite things. When the dog bites, when the bee stings, when I'm feeling sad, I simply remember my favorite things, and then I don't feel so bad.
Isn't that a lovely way of celebrating life? Just remember your favorite things, your favorite food, your favorite picnic, your favorite person, anything. My favorite scene in a favorite movie. That's the key to celebrating life. Today, It's My Life brings to you how to celebrate life. And I'm your host and host, Chaya Srivatsa. With me will be a guest who will share her own brand of celebrating life. Because frankly, there is no one fit all celebrating life. Each one will have to choose his or her own way of celebrating life. But let it not be combined with some event or an occasion. Just the fact that we are alive, just the fact that the wind is blowing, the sun is rising, the moon is rising, that should itself be enough to celebrate life. And I have with me a very interesting person called Subhashini Vasant. Why is she interesting? Not just as a person, but also because she does interesting things. Okay, we all do interesting things. So what's the big deal? Why particularly Subhashini Vasant? I'm going to unfold the various interesting aspects of Subhashini's life. Actually, we all have something interesting in our lives. If you really look into it, every person is like an onion with layers and layers, as you peel off layers. But when you peel off an onion, there are tears in your eyes. But when we peel off layers of our life, there should be laughter, there should be fun, there should be celebration. So let's peel off the layers from Subhashini Vasant. Hello, Subhashini. Welcome to It's My Life.
Hi, Chaya. Thank you. And that really sounds funny. I just can't help myself from laughing. Peeling off the onion, sure. I hope I don't lead you all to tears. Yep.
No, I don't think so. And I'm sorry to call you an onion, but आजकल तो बिना onion के कुछ खाना ही नहीं पकता है.
Oh God.
Isn't it? And I'm one of those who eats without onion, so I can't eat anywhere. Everything has onion. Then I realized, like in King Lear, the father says, without that pinch of salt, how food doesn't taste good. So without onion, it doesn't taste good. So that's why I'm comparing you to an onion who adds flavor to everything.
Oh my
God.
And
I know that you have added flavor to your life. So let's start from Subhashini, from the time she can remember her life. Which is when?
Earliest memories are pretty young, when I was I think under 5 years old. And I remember having a very lovely childhood with my parents. And actually, I'm one of my dad's favorite kids, I think.
I'm going to stop you here, Subhashini, to tell you, or maybe affirm what you said about you had a lovely childhood. And I think if you are a person who celebrates life, it's so important to have a lovely childhood. Do you agree?
That's true, yes, but I wouldn't like to demotivate those who've had a painful childhood. Yes, yeah. And I wouldn't, because I also think of my own children who've had this traumatic experience of losing their dad.
We'll talk about that later.
Okay.
But
no, because we're talking about childhood and...
Okay. So. But when I talk about childhood, I'm not talking about force majeure, as they say, things that happen without their control or the parental control.
Right.
But this is out for the parents that I'm talking about.
Okay.
Okay. More to the parents to say it's so important to give your children a joyful childhood.
That's true.
That is the beginning of celebrating life.
True. Yes.
Okay. So we'll move from there.
Okay. If you think of that, I think, this concept of quality time, I just don't ascribe to that because, I don't believe that if you spend 20 hours away and you try to enjoy those 4 hours with your children and say, okay, I'm going to take you to a mall. I'm going to take you to a movie. I'm going to buy you everything you want. You can have everything you want to eat and that kind of stuff. I think we're screaming up the wrong ladder. Okay. And, I think it's just the amount of time that we spend, good or bad or whatever, that makes the difference to a childhood. Okay. You just have to be there for them through all times. It's not I really don't agree with quality time. That concept is so warped.
The contents of a good childhood. If you can give me the ingredients of it.
See, actually, it was very simple. Like I'm saying, it was never like we were indulged or anything like that. I just remember every day when I came back from home, my mother was always there at home.
Oh my God.
And
don't say that, Subhashini, because there are so many moms out there who say, come on, Subhashini, you're putting us down, because they're working moms. They would love to be with their children too, and I'm sure the children would love to have their moms around. But aajkal ki daur itna hai life mein that it's so difficult.
That's why I feel I'm not putting anybody down or anything. I'm just saying how my childhood was.
No, I agree.
So, I understand to each their own, but to me that was very special. And I remember one odd day, if my mother was not there when I came back from home, it used to be so dull in the house, and that made the difference to me,
Okay.
So what I'm trying to reaffirm is it's not what you do with your children, it's just to be there for them. That's most important, I think.
All right.
It makes all the difference.
So number one ingredient?
So yeah, I was saying, I think it's just important for parents to be there with their kids and kind of have an open communication channel and have a finger on their pulse all the time. It's very crucial, I think.
I'm going to again interrupt you here. Your mother belongs to
an older generation.
True. Okay. But still, was she able to have a finger on the pulse, as you say, about you, and to be able to be there for you?
See, I think physically being there and available for the children is quite important. But when that is not possible all the time to physically be there, I think to let the child know that you are there to listen to them at any time is a very important parenting skill. We really need to let the children know that good, bad, ugly, we are there to listen. And we're not going to be judgmental about it. We're just going to kind of hold their hand through whatever. So I think that's what I learned from my mother.
See, and your mother is not exposed to all these newfound parentage and that kind of...
Nothing.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
And still there was something basic common sense.
True.
This is what a mother should be like.
True. Yeah.
Okay. And really, maa tujhe salam.
Absolutely.
So let's go to the next ingredient of your happy childhood.
Yeah, I was mentioning that I have a very special connect with my dad. And I remember that I believe he was a very busy man, of course, because he was building his own business and stuff like that. But when I came along, he had a little more time to spend at home. And I remember that he used to be the person who used to give me my morning glass of milk.
Oh, lovely.
It was, it's a very special memory that I have. And I actually remember it, sitting on his lap and holding that glass of milk. So it is a very special memory.
So daddy is out there. You are no less than mamas. All you have to do is put your little kid on your lap and let him or her have a drink of milk. Maybe children really resist milk. But
Absolutely.
This special thing like daddy ke god mein baith ke doodh peena hai.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll make all the difference.
True.
And you said something about how your father has been a very special person in your life. And I don't know if you'll agree with me, and I'm sure you will, which to say, I also believe that for a woman's empowerment, it starts with the father.
True. I think it's how your father has dealt with you, what you have seen with the way he treats your mother.
Absolutely.
It's all those things that you perceive. Those are the things that kind of give a woman her self-respect. It starts so early in her childhood. If you see your dad putting your mother down or making negative comments and stuff like that, that can definitely affect your daughter. I mean, your child.
And also the girl's own self-esteem and things like that.
Absolutely. And somewhere that social conditioning grows into her. And she might even just accept the same kind of behavior from her spouse, which is not all right.
And may bring up her sons like that.
God forbid.
No, I mean, it has a catapulting effect there, you know.
Of course.
So the role of a father, we both agree, is so important in the empowerment of women. I know feminists won't like it and say, why can't women be empowered on their own? That's all later. Because I think the most important person in a child's...
Before you even understand feminism, that's much later in your life, these things are already kind of subconsciously into your system. So then you have to work so much harder to erase them, isn't it?
Decondition yourself.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, deconditioning is really...
Absolutely. The very fact that your daughter is allowed to make a decision for herself is the first step in empowerment.
Absolutely.
And if you and I are sitting here, it's not our education or our economics part of it which has empowered us.
True.
I think it's the father's influence in our life.
Absolutely.
Okay? And I'm sure there are a whole lot of our listeners, women who are empowered, also will agree with us. And if there are women who are not empowered, let's tell them
that it's possible.
It's possible.
Yeah.
And if you're young parents, involve your husband in empowering your daughters.
True.
And sons. Even sons today are very weak. Even they are not empowered because even they are not allowed to make a choice.
I think somewhere it's gone, ulta pulta. The boys now need lot more kind of, we need to give them more confidence. Somewhere this whole feminist thing of empowering the girl has taken over so much that the boys seem to be kind of lagging behind in a sense, or they have this feeling of, okay, we have to catch up, so that's again lopsided. Another thing that comes to my mind is how after I finished my 10th grade, my parents gave me the freedom of choice to do what I want, to study whatever subjects I wanted. I was one of the toppers in school, and so without blinking an eyelid, when I applied, I got the science stream, Okay. And 6 months down into that, in my first pre-university year, I realized I just wasn't made for science. Everything was flying over my head, and math and trigonometry and calculus, it is just not my cup of tea. And I went to my principal, and this was in MES college, and I was in this really a class full of very, very brainy kids, and who were very focused and wanted to do medicine and engineering. They were all the toppers, the rank holders. Okay. And I was in a class with them completely lost. Okay. And so I went to the principal and I told him, I said, sir, I think I just want to shift over to arts. And this was in the late 80s when arts was nothing not considered great. And, and the principal told me, he said, what's wrong with you? You're in the science class and you want to go to arts? And his tone,
such disdain.
Yeah, his tone was like, what do you want to do there? And he said, no, you go back home. You bring your father after 1 week and you can then tell me if you still want to switch over. And I went home and I told my parents and they were like, okay, is that what you want to do? Fine. So we said, okay, we'll wait for that 1 week for that principal's time, whatever he had told us. And we went back and my dad said, please let her do what she wants. Give her the stream that she wants. It doesn't matter. You can take another child into the science stream. And I'm so happy I did arts.
So how did this arts thing help you in that part of it?
I was already dancing. I had been dancing since I was 5 years old.
Tell me about that.
Well,
it's you are a dancer, right?
True,
That's
yes. I never planned it as a career. I never thought that would be one of my identities. But now I figured out our identities are another onion layer, can be peeled off. Okay. So, well, that we'll talk about later. But anyway, in my childhood, I was always dancing. So all my friends know me as somebody who was dancing always.
You mean just like that, shaking your hands?
No, I was in class. I was in the after school hours hobby class. So I was doing Bharatanatyam in school and that's how I started. And
was it your own or did your mother think? In those days, mothers wanted you to learn music and dance.
Actually, that's another story by itself, Chaya. It's interesting how you ask me. It's my mother has been a dancer herself in her younger days. Okay. Yes. And she's performed in front of Nehru and, she's really been one of those really wonderful dancers in her time. And this was in the late 40s. Right? 40s and 50s, early 50s. And the taboo that dance had in those days in India, right?
Does she come from a family of dancers? Or was it
nothing like that. Her mother, my grandmother, was very passionate about the arts. She was...
when we're talking about grandmoms, I remember Vaijantimala's grandmother, Yadugiri Amma. Remember? Have you... She was the one who escorted Vaijantimala ji to every performance of hers.
Wow.
So there she was, beautiful Vajantimala, the statue's beauty. Next to her in the 9-yard sari was Yadugiramma. In every picture of Vajantimala was Yadugiramma. That was the influence she had on her granddaughter.
When I was 18, my mother, she took me to Guru Narmada, and I started, kind of really seriously dancing. Yeah. By then, of course, I was performing a lot, and so when I was 18, I kind of started really seriously dancing. And when I was 21, I did my Arangetram. Finished my graduation, and then I finished my Arangetram 3 months after that. And I'd enrolled myself in a PR course in Bharati Vidya Bhavan.
It would be nice if parents got their daughters into it.
Daughters, sons, anybody.
Into it for the first couple of years in life.
Absolutely.
So it gives them some coordination, body movement.
Absolutely. You get your poise, you know how to carry yourself, you get your balance, it's an all in all. I mean, I would just
recommended for everybody else.
Absolutely.
A co-curricular rather than an extracurricular.
Absolutely.
Did you do anything other than dance and academics?
Dance, academics. Yeah, I did debate in school, and I used to be very much part of the theatre productions in school and college, and I used to play the veena. And
so life is pretty full.
Yes, and I did some mountaineering thanks to my aunt, Vasumati, who is a passionate mountaineer. So she made sure that all of us in the family were exposed to that wonderful climbing and going out and being with nature. I think which is very important.
These are the things I think today's generation are not into. Too much of technology.
They are in a funny way, but I feel it's not
structured.
No, it's not. The pace is not easy. It's everything is I have to do. That kind of the rushing things. Even enjoying is becoming a thing on the calendar that you have to strike off. Then I feel you're losing the spontaneity. Everything is I must do this, I must do that. Let some things happen spontaneously, right?
Yes.
Where is the scope for that? I wouldn't say laid back, but right now I can't find another phrase for it. But you need to relax in life to allow life to happen to you. You can't scheme it all.
Yes.
You cannot manipulate
plan everything.
Yeah, you can't do that. Yes. So then you're losing it. I mean, again, okay, fine, you've scratched it. Big deal. So what? Again, you're wondering, okay, what next?
What do I scratch next?
What do I put on the things to do list.
And I think today parents are rushing their children into class after class after class.
Tell me about that.
What was the next milestone in your life?
Well, next milestone happened, like I said, kind of flowed into my life. There was Vasant, who I married later on. He was my sister's friend, and I had seen him from when I was 14. Okay. And so they were a gang, they were a happy gang, and our house was the adda, so to say. I have 2 older brothers and 1 elder sister, Popsi, Ravi and Surabhi. So, I was the youngest of 4 siblings, and our house was like the hangout for all their friends, and a lot of friends hanging out. And one of them was Vasant, who actually didn't hang out much because he was on his own trip. Because when my sister and he were classmates, they were in their first year of degree, and he was already a very serious NCC cadet by then.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So he was always on one of the camps or the other, and then of course he went on to the Republic Day parade in Delhi, and then he went to Canada as the youth exchange and stuff like that. So he hardly was there, but he was part of the gang, very much part of the gang. I had finished my graduation and my Arangetram, and I think there was this little bit of a lull going on in my life, and I was thinking of how I'm going to take my life further. Okay. And I think I really felt the need for partner. And I was 21, but I kind of realized that, I need to, kind of have somebody to call my own in that sense.
Which means marriage. Because there was no living in and things like that.
Absolutely. I mean, there was no thought of even, I mean, I don't even remember. I'll tell you how it came about, I don't even remember going on a date with him, and we had already talked marriage,
You and he?
Yes.
So when did that spark kindle? Because we were just hanging out once in a while.
Yeah, see, that was the time when there was no gap age gap between my sister's group and me. So we'd all hang out together. And Vasant was down for about 4 months in Bangalore. He was doing some course, the mechanical course, the ASMT.
He had already joined the army.
Yes. He was already commissioned in 89. So we were talking about 90s, late 90s, 91. So he was doing a course here and he was here for 4 months. And that was also the time when I was thinking of, what am I going to do next?
So tell me what was in the air, Subhashini.
There was love in the air.
Cupid uska tir mara.
Absolutely. So, look at the guy also. Later on, he tells me, I was always in love with you, but I never dared tell you because I never thought you were the type who'll marry an army guy. And
there are some types who'll marry army guys?
I don't know. Okay. But having known me, he just thought that my parents would like me to be settled and married with a, green card guy. This was end of 91 when I told my sister, and then she laughed it off first, but then it lingered and I nagged her for a month. I said, you have to tell him. Okay. So she actually went and told him, and he was shocked.
Okay.
He was like, are you sure? Is this what you're telling me? And stuff like that. And, of course, then there was a little bit of a break till about 6 months. Then he went back, and when he came back to Bangalore, that's when my parents went and proposed at his place. And of course, they agreed. And by then, Vasant and I had figured things out. And we had spoken and we kept in touch through.
And I hope, Subhashini, you won't get emotional about it.
Try not to, Chaya.
Even if you do, it's okay. Because love is a very, very strong emotion. And it's, I think, one of the greatest emotions that our mind has, or the heart has, or the head has, wherever the emotion dwells. And whoever has found love, who has gone through it, is very blessed.
Absolutely.
Okay.
There's no doubt about it.
Subhashini, tell me about your love. I have to use this tone.
Oh my God, groovy, Chaya. But trust me, there's not only groovy stuff when you're talking about love. There's a lot of heart pain. There's a lot of hard work.
Yes.
There's a lot of staying with it. An effort also is required to stay with it, because there are times when you want to just get off because it can be painful.
Okay.
And there's a lot of sacrifice, and there's a lot of thinking of the other person first. So
that is love. Thinking about the other person.
Yes, exactly. I mean, and
the other person thinks of you.
Yeah, and that's so difficult to be on that wavelength when two people are both thinking of the other person's interest first. Okay. Because I think a lot of times in love, you want to possess. And you want to do what you want to do, and you think that by doing what you want to do, you're doing the right thing.
Okay. So you have to find out what the other person wants.
Actually.
So there's communication.
Yeah. So if you want to really be in love, I think you should do what the other person wants you to do. And you should be so
tuned into that.
Tuned in, and also secure in knowing that what the other person would want you to do is actually going to be good for you too. So to know that and have that kind of
maturity.
Yeah, giving nature, I think it takes a long time, and it did. Vasant and I had our usual tussles and fights, and actually, if you think about it.
What did you fight about?
Oh, everything.
No, normally what is it? Like, normally I find in marriages, you fight about your people said this, or your mom said this, and isn't it? It's not really about them. It's all about somebody else around you.
That's the sad part of Indian marriages, I think, because there's so much of the other people playing a role in our lives. Yeah, and it's such a pain. And
what did you fight about then?
I think, I'll tell you who my mother-in-law was. It is the army.
Okay. You didn't want to share him with her.
No, not at all. I was like, my in-laws were very sweet people, are very sweet people. But it's actually, the army was so intrusive. It is.
Don't you say that, because there's so many.
We had no life of our own. we really did not. Everything was his time, his energy, everything was so taken by it.
1 minute. Subhashini, I don't agree with you that it's only with the army. Any profession, you ask a banker's wife and she'll say, in my next janam, I'll never marry a banker. You ask an IT professional, kabhi software engineer se shaadi nahi karna. So I don't think the army is the mother-in-law.
Well, I don't know, because I was married to this army man and that's the only life I knew. So I said, okay, the army is the monster.
Okay. But the army also gives you wonderful lifestyle, doesn't it?
That's true. But all you want at one point is to have your partner with you, right? You don't want all those perks. You just want time with your spouse. And that is premium. And that really was, because Vasant was hardly ever there.
What,
half
which
of our
part of the army was he in?
We spent separate.
No, which part? Artillery,
he's an infantry guy.
Infantry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He was in 9 Maratha.
Okay.
So it was hardcore infantry guy, and he was very passionate about his job.
Naturally.
And so he was like, Shubha, ye dekho, I've married the army first. You got married to me later, or we got married later. So that's my
You're the other woman.
I loved a lot of things about the army, like the traveling, the moving from place to place. I'm pretty nomadic by nature. I love to go and see different places, and and it's also a nice thing to know that wherever you go, you're not going to be there for more than 2.5 years. So it's like, so whatever it is, figure it out and enjoy it. And if there's some not nice things, it's
finishing.
Pass. Yeah. Okay. So I love the traveling and the packing bags and moving from place to place.
Making new friends.
Of course. Yeah. Making new friends, seeing the countryside and seeing it from a very different perspective, because in the army, you really get to see the back of beyond, and you really get to see the interiors of the country and mingle with people there, and it's very nice. All those things I love,
and the respect you get from
people. Of course, yeah. There is a lot of prestige attached to the uniform, which of course I respect, and so there were all these very nice things. But my only grouse was Vasant's time was always taken. Yeah, it was like
mere saath raho, mere haath pakdo.
Yeah, and then there was this always thing about, we could never even plan a date. A single dinner was, you don't know till actually it happens.
Okay.
Right? So I think that was fantastic conditioning for me. It was fantastic conditioning. In hindsight, I should thank the army for that.
Don't expect anything.
Yeah, for that amazing conditioning. Okay. It's a life skill that I shall cherish.
But did you continue with your dance and all that?
Of course. Yeah, everywhere. I've taught in Kashmir. I've taught in Wellington.
You were teaching also?
Yes,
great.
I've performed. And Vasant was very passionate about my dancing, though he claimed that he had 2 left feet. He was very, very particular that I dance and I follow my passion. And in fact, that was one of the things we fought about, because he used to get so mad with me if I didn't practice every day. And see, when you're running a house, when you have 2 small children and you're doing so many things, you're hosting parties, you're cooking, cleaning, doing so many things. And then some days the last thing you want to do is get up and dance. Yeah, because you just don't have the physical energy to do that. And you've had sleepless nights because of the kids and stuff like that. And he would say, why? You should be disciplined and you should dance.
Oh my
How can
God.
you not
the
dance?
Army discipline.
You should, it's like, no, he felt that if you're passionate about something, how can you not take away some time of your every day for that? How could you not? He just couldn't understand that. And that was one of the things we fought about. And I was like, you come, sit at home, look after the kids, run the house, and then I'll dance.
He says, then you go and fight. You face the enemy and the fire. What about that? Did you ever think about that?
No.
See, we women really, when we talk about men, we'll say, it's okay for men to talk about it being a man world. Look what we are doing, blah, 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 blah. But when there's a war, it's the men who go out there. When there's a rat in your house, you call your husband to kill the rat. They have their uses too in their different ways. I think we should stop being so holier than thou and say, we women are multitaskers. We are taking care of this, blah, 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 whatever it is.
No, I mean, I think each has a role to play and you have to respect
and we need to respect each other's role,
Of course. That's the bottom line. Yeah. But I'm saying sometimes in a day, it just gets, you just can't how much ever you love what you want to do, you may not be able to find the energy and time to do it. And also it's your priorities. And for me, my kids were top priority from the time I had them.
Because you had your mom always there and you wanted to be a mom like her.
Exactly. Or at least try. So I think that was one of the things. In fact, I have put my career or whatever, my dance life on the back burner for a long time now. And I have no regrets about that because I'm happy the way it is. Because like I said, I dance for my pleasure and my own happiness. And it gives me a kick that I don't seek from a performance. So if a performance happens, fine. If it doesn't, I'm
you
fine.
Don't go looking for one and marketing yourself.
No, please, I hate that word.
Are your girls also dancers?
No. My older child does ballet. She does Western classical ballet for the last few years now. But the younger one was dabbling in things. They'd learnt from me for a while and they did Kalaripai too. So various forms. But no, they're not seriously into Bharatanatyam. No. So.
Let's come back to the army and you and your life in the army.
Life in the army, like I said, was of course beautiful in parts, and there was a lot of separation, Chaya. I mean, that was
non-family
something
stations.
Non-family station, and even in the family stations, there was so much that Vasant had to be away. Because you know that when they are posted in peace stations, so to say, they have to do their term on the border. They are each unit is assigned its own place in the border where they have to be there for about 4-5 months in a year. So there is a hell of a lot of separation.
And so what did you do during that time? Did you stay in the same
No, I used to. Till I had the children, till I didn't have the children, I'd come back to Bangalore. Or there were times when I was away in England for 4-5 months doing projects with my dance and stuff like that. So I would travel till the kids came along. But once the kids came along, then I was pretty homebound. And I used to come to Bangalore and stay here and, take care of the kids and pursue my dancing. So you
traveled also back and forth home to your parents' place?
Very often.
While he was in non-family stations?
Yes, very often. So that was convenient in a sense because I was not idling my time away or there was something that I was doing. But still, after you're married, I think you always look forward to having that companionship and that togetherness. And then I was like, what is this whole thing, What is this? I found it a little meaningless.
The marriage?
Yes, in that sense.
As an institution?
Yeah. There was, it wasn't how I was conditioned to see marriage because I'd seen my parents always together, right? So this was a new
You should have known before marrying an army officer.
That's exactly what a lot of people tell you.
Yeah.
But see, I'll tell you that again, that to know about something and to live it through is two different things.
Subhashini, I'm going to touch that chord, which I was hesitating to do. But then, we're talking about celebrating life, and celebrating death is part of celebrating life.
True.
Okay? So let's talk about what happened to Vasant.
Right. He was martyred in Kashmir while he was fighting insurgents across the border.
Okay.
And so this was when he was commanding his battalion, and he was the big man. He was the CO. I mean, the commander of a battalion is really very, very important. And it's a very high post in the army. So when he was doing that, to be right in the front and leading his men by example was, of course, a very
noble,
glorious thing to do. And that he got fired and, that he had to lose his life was one of the unfortunate fallout for us, the family. Which, of course, even the army, felt very sad about, and they did glorify his martyrdom and stuff like that. I feel...
How did they glorify that?
Well, he is the first Ashoka Chakra awardee for Karnataka state. And the Ashoka Chakra is equivalent to the Paramvira Chakra, and it is second to the Bharat Ratna.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes. So it is a very, very, very high
See, we all have
order.
To die, but... To die like that?
Yes, absolutely.
And to be remembered like that?
Absolutely. I mean, Vasant has carved a niche for himself in the history of the country. In the sense, I mean, to me, he's no less than Tippu or Shivaji or Bhagat Singh. He's no less than that. I mean, and I think that is what I'd like to celebrate about him because he lived his life. Like I told you, he'd even told me that I was the second wife or whatever, and I was the cherished mistress.
Yeah.
But he lived his life and he followed his passion. And yes, of course, it took his life, but what is life really? I mean, you know, I really think society has conditioned us to think so much about death as being the end. And I don't believe that. I just don't believe that death is the end. It's only the disintegration of the physical body. And where does the energy go? It goes nowhere. It's always there. Yeah. So if we are all bits of energy that are floating around and right now encapsulated in a body, then what is death? It's just release of that energy into everything that's around us. So I've just felt that and I believe that, and that's probably what is helping me live the way I'm living now and just enjoy life. Yeah. So
how did the children take it? You were here in Bangalore when it happened?
Yes.
Okay. And the typical in the Hindi movies, so telegram aati hai.
No telegram came. The people came home and told me about it. And yes, it is not easy on the kids.
But somewhere at the back of your mind, did you feel something like this could happen to Vasant?
Not really, no.
No, you didn't think about that.
No. I wasn't thinking about it, but the thing is that I was writing a play called The Silent Front, which later on, which I acted also in the lead role of that play. And the play was all about an army wife. You know, it was celebrating 3 women as the mother, as the wife, and as the daughter of an army person. Okay. And Vasant and I had actually come up with this whole script, which I sat and with the help of one of my cousins, Smita, put it into kind of into place, into dialogues and everything. And then I requested a friend from National School of Drama, Seema Azmi, to direct the play. And all this was happening actually when the time Vasant was shot. And there in the play, the focus of the play was how this lady, after her husband is martyred, survives and comes up and brings up her children, her son in the play. And you know, I was doing this play for the last 2 months then. So somehow it seemed so uncanny that, you know, the role that I was writing actually...
You're going to be following that.
That my life had ended up becoming that role. It was really funny. It was funny in the sense of weird, you know, and it was like, again... I was like, what's happening, you know? But I guess dwelling on that script, writing that play, thinking of those women, thinking of their scenarios, reliving those ideas of what it could be. And when you're all actually looking at something detached, like you're writing a play, you come up with fantastic solutions. You say, she could have done this, she could have done that, you could have done this.
You're a witness then.
Yes, you're a witness. And somehow, when this happened to me, you won't believe it, Chaya. It was weird, and I was thinking I'm witnessing it. You know, and that was an amazing...
You felt detached.
Yeah, I felt detached. When people were coming and condoling, I was like, ye kaun sa scene mein hai? That kind of a thing. And it was like really funny, you know. And of course, for a lot of time, people thought I was in shock.
Yeah.
I was totally in the real. I was there at the moment in the feeling of it. And then I also had this feeling of death not being the end and understanding that, you know, it's just so much beyond the senses, beyond what our eyes and ears can actually feel. We are so limited in these human bodies. So when I had all these kind of ideas in my head, and this was actually happening to me, it was...
How did you think of immortalizing him in your life?
See, actually, a lot of things happened, like I said, again, spontaneously. And it was just flowing. And I had by then... I'd felt like, you know, till Vasant was there, I felt very cocooned in my life and very protected and kind of very secure. And with this kind of, when he just whizzed out of my life from the physical sense, I felt like I had been blasted into the heavens, you know, into space. Like I felt like...
To take care of yourself.
Yeah, in the sense also, kind of, you know, no anchoring. And it was actually, initially it's scary. Like if you go parasailing, you'll understand. When you first get out there, it's very scary. But after a while, you just love it.
The freedom.
It's the movement, the sky above, the earth below. And it's just beautiful. That whole feeling of freedom, really, of just being yourself and being alive, being open to senses and being able to absorb life and be kind of detached and not take everything very emotionally. Because I had nothing to lose now.
Yeah.
The worst had happened. Right? And I had that sense of, it's a fantastic release. It's I don't know. Otherwise, we're always living in fear of, oh my God, God forbid that shouldn't happen. When the worst has happened, then you're like, okay, what can be worse? Right? So you just start living. And I think that's when I started living, really. And that's when I also realized that there's so much that I could do and I also realized very, very philosophically, I said, why does somebody go and why does somebody stay? I was trying to figure out why it was Vasant who had to go and not me.
You.
Right? So I was like, okay, there is something that I'm meant to do, that I'm supposed to process.
So what is it that you did?
Right. That's when Vasant Ratna Foundation was born. When I wanted to, kind of reach out to other people like me, other women like me, and start somewhere making a little difference to their lives, may not be super economically, because of course I had to struggle to raise funds for the foundation and stuff like that, which I did through artistic endeavors. Again, bridging my life, of my artistic stuff and my army lineage all together. And, that's when Vasant Ratna Foundation started. And right now we've touched about 50 families across Karnataka, rural Karnataka.
Okay.
So there are children that we are reaching out to with the education scholarships, and there are women we're reaching out to, talking about life and talking about coming to terms with it and helping them see beyond. Like, it's okay. I mean, you love the person. He's not there. You'll still love him. He still loves you. Doesn't matter. You have a life you have to live.
You have to
right?
move on.
And you have to satiate those senses. You have to, that's why you with a body still, right? So you eat and you live and you enjoy and you celebrate. And that's exactly what I've been trying to do with all the women that I've been interacting with.
Okay. And these are all basically wives of martyrs.
Martyrs' wives, and they're all the Jawans' wives. They're all from rural India. And that's when I realized, Chaya, as a urban girl, my life is so different. So many things that they have to deal with. I just don't have to deal with. I feel it will take generations by the time we can actually bring about that social change. And that's what I'm really heading to, because it has to start. Somewhere people have to start letting the woman live her life.
They won't look at her as a martyr's wife. They look at her as a widow.
Yes. And that's so sad.
That she's not a Suhagan anymore.
What rubbish.
That Suhagan word is so scary. Totally scary, because it's like a status symbol.
It's again all these identities. It's another first onion peel that all of us have to rip off, whether we are a Suhagan or not a Suhagan. I'm not saying this because I'm not, but I'm saying it's...
You are. We're all eternally Suhagans because we are married to Lord Krishna.
I mean, if you look at, yeah, of course.
We're all the Gopiya. We're all
don't
the devotees.
Start me off on that now. There's no stopping that topic.
Because we have very little time now, I cannot miss out talking about your book, Forever 40.
Oh, yes. That's actually one of the things that I put together with Vasant's cousin Veena. And frankly, it would have been impossible without her, because the way she stood with me through that whole thing. Both of us had this idea of, putting a memoir for Vasant.
Okay.
And she, of course, I was still dealing with my demons, so to say. And Veena, started making the move, and she started a blog and had all his friends and our cousins and all write in and put in ideas. And she also had this plan to kind of put things together for Vasant as the person that he was, a simple human being, and for the girls, for my children. So that they know who he was all about. Because somewhere Vasant had been idolized, martyred, and he'd been kind of made larger than life. And so it was very important for us to kind of de-glamorize him, so to say.
Demystify the whole thing.
Exactly. And make him the simple person that he was. So Veena and I, with that idea in mind, started putting things together. And it took us about a year. So it's very interesting how that title came about, Chaya. It was my older daughter, Rukmini, who suggested the title. And she said, Mama, Appa was 40 and it's forever. So let's just title it Forever 40.
Forever.
Yeah. And I found that so beautiful because forever is eternal and 40 is a finite number. And you're putting those two together. And what you're trying to say, that it's all just one big circle, right? So we just stuck with the title and there goes the book. And we didn't want to end the book with Vasant's martyrdom, right? Because it was all about celebration.
Sure.
So we said, what do we do? And that's when I opened out my diary to Veena. And I said, see, these are the stuff that I've been jotting down every time I feel very moved or something, that I'm troubled about.
Your emotions.
Yeah. And I have to put it down somewhere. Of course, I had a lot of friends.
So in a way, you've kind of
writing.
Opened up your heart in this book.
I just started writing. And the last chapter in the book is all about stuff that I've written about how I felt after he moved on.
Okay.
And, I think that was probably my therapy. That was how I kind of figured myself out. And
so in a way, Subhashini, because we are coming to the end of the show, I want to wrap up by saying that one part of your life was just Subhashini Vasant, the happy-go-lucky child, who grew up into a happy-go-lucky young woman, who fell in love happy-go-luckily with an army person, didn't know anything about army life and got into it. And then the Subhashini who became the other martyr's wife.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a very big turning point in your life. And you have immortalized the martyr by writing about him in Forever 40 and by starting the Vasant Ratna Foundation.
True.
Two beautiful ways of telling Vasant, you know what, you are somewhere wherever you are. And I love having you with me through these things.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Subhashini, for this lovely, lovely interaction we've had on your happy days and happier days.
Thank you,
You'll be
Chaya.
a great misal for other women who go through things like that.
I don't know. I think I'm just surviving.
No,
so
you
I
are
don't
not.
know what kind of inspiration it can be, but I think to each their own. We all have to go through our own journeys and figure them out. Yep.
We'll figure them out. But main thing is be joyful, celebrate life.
True.
We are alive, and I think that's enough to celebrate life.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chaya. Thank you.